Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. Get an ambulance over here now. A Chicago police officer could be heard saying. The Chicago Police Department said immediately following a 13-year-old unarmed black male shooting that he had a gun in his hand. Then it went to a cell phone in his hand. The bystander saw something totally different. They said that this 13-year-old had his hands up when the officer was shooting him. Then they take him and they drag this 13-year-old across the parking lot as though he was an animal.
Witness, who didn't want to be identified, said
his hands was up, and I seen the cop run right up to that boy and just start shooting.
But the attorney for the shooting officer is looking less at where the hands were and more what he says his client thought was in them. Attorney Timothy Grace wrote to CNN in part, Officer Ball reasonably believed the object being pointed at him was a firearm. It ended up being a cell phone, but Officer Ball had to make a split-second decision as he had no cover and no concealment. He discharged his service weapon to stop the threat. The teen's attorneys argue he was trying to surrender and that the pursuit shouldn't have happened in the first place.
There's been no charges against him. He was in a stolen vehicle and he ran away. He ran away. And does that warrant being shot in the back and paralyzed from the waist down?
If all you need is to have someone flee from...
As you can see from the clip before we go on with this video, you can see that this young man's hands was up, and to me, it's very blurry, but to me, it appears though he had nothing in his hand. He had nothing in his hand. Like I said, they said that he had a gun, then it went from a gun to a cell phone. And then as you continue to look at the rest of the video, you're going to see how they were trying to come up with a narrative. You're going to see that in the video. As we know that the law enforcement can't be trusted. We know that they're domestic terrorists. We know that they're gangbangers. And we know that they will do anything they can to protect their own. To protect their own. And his attorney has the audacity to say he had to make a split-second decision. It was the wording for me. It was the wording for me. Because he was a threat. Every time they see a black person is a threat. Every time they see a black person, they're always afraid for their lives. But they go get these, what they want to say, these mental ill white people who do these massacre shootings. They will arrest them with the gun in their hand. And they're never afraid of them. Dismiss me. Make it make sense.
Officer shooting an unarmed 13-year-old who was running from a stolen vehicle and who lawyers and some witnesses say had his hands up. The 13-year-old's attorneys say the teen was trying to surrender. The officer's attorney says in a split-second decision, he thought the teen's cell phone was a gun.
Jesus Christ, dude.
That was the reaction of the officer next to the shooting officer after shots were fired.
Is anyone hit?
Shortly after, two officers grabbed the 13-year-old who had just been shot by his sweatshirt and legs and carried him away from the gas pump where he was laying.
They drag him with no regard for this young man, pull him like a rag doll away from the pump to another area after he had already sustained a major injury to his back.
They're supposed to value the sanctity of human life. There was no value here. Officers believe they likely struck those gas pumps.
Chicago police later said they were concerned a gas tank might have been hit by gunfire and could explode. The shooting officer, Noah Ball, didn't have his body camera activated until roughly 40 seconds after the shooting. as he asks another officer if his is on. Ball's camera being off was inadvertent, his attorney told CNN, but inexcusable, the teen's attorneys say.
So the suggestion that, hey, maybe this was just a temporary absent-mindedness because he was involved in a pursuit, they know that they're supposed to engage their cameras, and it's up to them to do it.
The 13-year-old was a passenger in a suspected stolen car when officers tried to stop it. Police say he jumped out and started running. Then, right as he turns and appears to raise his hands, he's shot at least once, leaving him now paralyzed from the waist down, his attorneys say. And for you all, at least, it's clear that his hands are up.
His hands are up. There was no justification for the officer to shoot.
And he was unarmed.
Clearly unarmed.
And at least some bystanders on the scene appear to agree.
If all you need is to have someone flee from the police to justify a shooting, we got real problems in this city and in this country.
Now, Don, the teen's attorneys dispute there was ever anything in his hands at all and argue there's no definitive video to prove it. They, along with the family, have now filed a federal lawsuit against the Chicago Police Department, in part to account for the teen's life that has now been altered forever because of these injuries. The Chicago Police Department couldn't comment on the shooting because it's still under investigation by the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, but they did confirm this officer was stripped of his police powers at least 2 days after this shooting, pending the outcome of that investigation.
All right, before I go, you see a foolish black man up there, the chief? He's stuttering because he can't even get it out of his mouth about they dragged him because of the gas pumps. That was a PR move. That was a PR move. That's what their PR person told them to say. They didn't give a damn about those pumps, and they didn't give a damn about that unarmed black teenager. And as I told you, you see when they're trying to set the scenario, they're trying to set it. I don't believe this black unarmed teen never had a phone or anything in his hand. His hand was up. Once again, the white man feared for his life because he's seen a black person running out of a stolen car. He shot and he killed. Thank God that he didn't kill him, but he shot him and now he's paralyzed. Thank God that this young man still got his life. My black and brown skinned people, stay up, never down. Until we meet again, please remember, I love you guys so much.